I don't want to be low energy.
Oh, that's a great start. Thanks, Tim.
What? What? I'm
Yawning.
not yawn. I was yawning at not at you. I'm just yawning because I'm tired. I was up late last night.
You're really going to bring it today, huh? Real
I'm gonna bring
professional.
it. I'm ready to bring it. Let's go. Come on.
Hey, as you know, I got drunk and fell asleep at 9:30 last night.
I know we won't talk about it, but you sent me this text. And I just looked at it and I go, okay. And then I just wrote you back. Did I write you back or did I
You wrote me
reply?
back 2 minutes later, and I had already I didn't see the response until this morning. This is what drinking is for me these days. I drink, I get home, I warmed up some leftover Taco Bell, scarfed that down, told Christine I was going to lay down, and then I was passed out, and I didn't wake up until 3:30 in the morning in my clothes, and had to go through the whole routine with brushing my teeth. And Sex in the City was on because for some reason I was watching E on the TV when I fell
Oh, they
asleep.
show reruns of that?
Oh yeah, constantly.
Oh, wow.
Still a very popular show, Sex in the City.
You know, because they don't have linear television like they used to, they show these reruns all the time. MTV shows reruns of Ridiculousness is a show I've never seen. But I just saw a video of that yesterday. There's the band Devo, Mark Mothersbaugh, who was a founding member of Devo. They used a song, and he gets $1 million a year because of how many times they show that program and reruns.
Well, let me start the show officially. We have a bad
All right.
habit of rolling into recordings and then recording the intro at the end, and then it creates one additional minute of work for me, but I hate it. I
Oh
despise
yeah,
it.
you don't want
I
1 minute and throw your whole day off.
I curse every time I have to move the intro from the end to the
Uh-huh.
front. Man, that's fucking siren too. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's been going for the last 5 minutes because they can't get around traffic. Anyway, welcome to One Topic, where we stick to one topic. My name is Greg Russ. Autumn Fisher in Chattanooga this week. She offered to record in the Detroit airport where her layover was. Also, a pretty stupid flight. Baltimore to Chattanooga. She went Baltimore to Detroit to Chattanooga. I don't know if she paid or the Hoff and Pepper company paid because she's going down there for official business, but it's also to see our friends who run it, so who fucking knows. Filling in, Tim Andrews. Welcome, Tim.
So she was going to do it in an airport. She's the queen of doing shows from parking lots, basements, airports.
That was
She's
that
always
was
on the go.
that was her suggestion, and I said, Tim told me a few weeks ago that if you were out and we needed a fill-in, that he would be happy to do it. So let's do that. And she said, okay, I'll text him.
Yeah, can you do the show? I'm going out of town. I mean, yeah, sure. It was weird getting that from her. I figured that you would be the one to ask.
I was going to ask you, but for whatever reason, she just rushed to it. Said, all right, I texted him.
I just naturally defer to the male being the head of the show. I know it's your equals.
I let her introduce the show. It was just, I talk more. So in my mind, the thought was, well, if I'm going to be the one who intros the show and I talk more, then that's rude. So I'll let her intro, and then I'll be the one who talks more.
People tell me that you have a tendency to egg her on when you're doing one topic. Not people that work here, but people that listen and that I know. They're like, "Oh yeah, Greg will egg her on, and she'll just get going."
It's good.
So,
It's nice when she gets going. She lets loose a bit.
yeah,
Get
it's
some
probably cathartic for her.
Yeah, you get some real feelings, especially when we do talk about the radio show. I think it's a little too inside, but I do know most of this audience is here because they listen to the Von Hessler Doctrine. I have this idea that people may stumble across us and actually like it, but why would they? We're just two random people who talk about bullshit, and there's plenty of those
Yeah,
shows out there.
but you get more. I think you get more listens and views, I think you get more listens than Radio Labyrinth does.
No, I think we're about the same, or you do a little better. You
We're
also
on.
split your audience because you do the audio only version and the video version, right?
Yeah, we still have more, I think, dedicated podcast listeners, but that could be different. It depends because if our topic is something that's trending and the YouTube algorithm sees the artwork, it'll push it out and we'll get a bunch of people sampling us. We do have now 1,500 subscribers.
That's good. If you look at the breakdown of percentages and podcast listenership, viewership, if you get over 300 people an episode, you're already in the top 10%.
Right.
So
You still can't get any advertising.
nah, we get like $20 every 3 months or something. It just pops up in my PayPal account and I give it all to Autumn because she needs it more.
That's nice of you. The other day I interviewed that comedian actress Mary Lynn Ricegub, Gail the Snail from. She's been in a ton of stuff, but most people know her either from 24 or Gail from Always Sunny. And she's been doing a podcast with another comedian, but she doesn't do it very often. And when I asked her about it, she said, I'm good at showing up and I'm good at talking. She goes, everything else, I need someone else to do.
Did you offer to join the show
No.
and run it for her?
No, because it's a one camera podcast.
Camera.
So it's a YouTube thing. And she said, people volunteer to help and they get in there and then they all have other things going on. And she's right, unless you're like Rogan or, a whole bunch of comedians who can afford to pay people and set it up. And plus she's an actress, so she's constantly doing, drama or comedy. She's a pretty good dramatic actress.
Well, my thought was you could offer to help with the show.
Mm-hmm.
The technical side of it, you could use something like this platform we're recording on today, Riverside. Not that I get paid to promote the platform, but I think it's a good one. And you say, I'll handle the technical stuff. And then at some point, like even if she's traveling around, a remote kit is very cheap to set up for her. Make her pay for it, get her a Pelican case. And then at some point she starts pulling you in because she's not going to want to talk just alone. So she pulls you into the shows and the audience will hate you because they'll say, who the fuck is this guy? Because the audience hates anyone new that appears. I'm surprised that people, there's still probably plenty of people who hate me on the Von Hessler doctrine, but that thought always lives in my mind, even though we've been doing it for over 10 years. It's, you were part of the regular guys, and then Autumn and I were new, and Autumn's on enough where she could win people over. And I feel like people are like, shut the fuck up, you idiot.
I think people like you, especially if they're P1s. They love it. They love some of the fake drama, I think. And I don't mean fake, but there's these things that Eric repeats, these personality beliefs, or I can't even put it into words, but like he'll have a perspective on you or a perspective on Autumn or myself or even Jared. And that's about it. But he's known the three of us longer than anybody else. And so sometimes I feel like he's thinking of how I acted when I was 32 as opposed to how I act now.
It's the same for me.
I was a spaz, and you were grumpy and angry. We all had our things.
Am I not anymore?
I don't know. I'm used to you as who you are, and I don't have any negative feelings about that. Greg's a grumpy guy. I just think it's your personality.
I'm a caring person. The thing is, yes, most of humanity annoys the fuck out of me, but people I know. I was just talking about this the other day because I do come off as grumpy, but I will really, help people that I know and care about and enjoy doing it and think it's important to do, to have people in your life that you can count on. And then you got the people who pretend to love everything and they're the most self-centered and don't help anyone. And then the moment somebody needs help, they disappear. Like, I'm busy today. I can't really help you.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to help. I don't consider what I'm doing today help. I just think this is fun. So,
good.
You could have done it by yourself because you come up with creative ways of doing the show when she's not available.
It is difficult to do alone, though. Like when you do your show alone, I know you bring on guests when you do the podcast, but it's harder than people think to do a show alone. I can get to that level of comfort in the recording where the idea and the knowledge that I'm just sitting here speaking to myself in the moment dissipates. And then once I can get rid of that, things settle in. But that does live for like the first 10 minutes. And I feel like my breathing gets all off when I start recording alone, just because I am doing it myself and something switches in my breathing. I don't know what the fuck it is, but then I get to the point where I'm mid-sentence and I have no breath left. So it takes a little while for me to ramp up into it. I guess if I did it on a regular basis, it would become more natural.
I started doing last year. I started doing an audio only feed. It's just me on the Radio Labyrinth podcast feed, and I called it Trambles. And I would just talk about different things or topics. Try not to do too much that we're going to do on the regular Radio Labyrinth. And it was just me. And then I stopped doing it for 3 or 4 months, and I just started doing it again. And it's a good exercise. I usually just turn on the mic and start talking, but sometimes I have to plan it out a little bit what I'm going to talk about. And it all depends on my energy level. But you're right. it's difficult to do, but on a radio show, I think it's a little bit easier because you have a clock and you have to plot it out and you have to know what you're going to do. And there's other elements. When it's just you talking into a microphone, you have to be compelling. Sometimes that could be pretty low energy.
Yes, I feel the same about myself, not you.
But I don't feel I'm not doing it intentionally, or I don't think it's a weakness. I just think that I like to listen to people who they don't puke or they aren't purposefully in your face. The types of radio shows I've always liked, and that if it's a solo person, it's just laid back uh, or chaotic to a degree, but always laid back, not pushing it out there like, "Hey, I'm a radio guy, and we're taking your phone calls, and these are the topics." And that's the easiest thing I think to do when you're in our position if you're hosting a show, even though most people will go, "How is that easy?" Well, it's easy because you don't really have to think. You just follow an outline of how talk radio show is supposed to be. And to bring it back to Von Hessler Doctrine, I think that's what makes us better than a lot of other shows.
The lack of calls.
No, just the lack of any sort of structure. Jared Yamamoto will put out this show sheet and it's a loose structure, but we never follow it because Eric has never done that. Even I used to bitch about it back in the regular guys days. I'd make the show sheet and I'd like, if you deviate from it, I'd get pissed, especially if a guest got bumped, because I'm always the one that's the face of, if Larry didn't want the guest on and they were waiting in the lobby, or they were in the green room at the station and he go, I don't want them on. I'm like, they're here. What the fuck do you want me to do? Well, go tell them we don't have time. I'm like, oh, I
That's
hated that.
shitty. That's somebody, especially a morning show, goes out of their way to come in, wakes up early, and to not bring
Yeah.
them on the show at that point.
Oh yeah.
That's bullshit.
He did that to God. Who's that comedian? That lady comedian Schumer. Amy Schumer was waiting in the lobby to come in, and he just decided to change his mind. And we'd already had her on a bunch, and he liked her, but I guess her politics started to become something she talked about more than just being funny, and he didn't like her politics, so he made me cancel her. And then I went and sat next to her that night, and I was so embarrassed I didn't say anything to her. I sat next to her at the old Punchline, and then I texted her and I said, "Hey, you were funny last night. I was sitting next to you." And she goes, "You're a creep," and she blocked me.
That was the response. You're a creep.
Something like that, yeah. Because I didn't say anything to her. I should have just said hello, but I was too embarrassed to talk to her. And
Yeah.
Chris Hardwick, he did that to him 3 times. Chris Hardwick was on the phone, and 3 times Larry just bumped him and said no. So he yelled at Deborah, "Don't you fucking call me again."
The phone's a bit different. I still think it's rude.
Yes.
It's somebody coming into the studio and bumping them. I
Yeah.
just don't know why you wouldn't say no if you didn't want the person on to begin with.
Well, then Hardwick started. Hardwick's met one of our board op, Brandy. He met her someplace or whatever, and then he just started. He's like 20 years older than her, and he just started texting her and asking her out. We should hang out. I don't think she ever did because she wasn't like that.
Yeah, an actual creep like me dating Christina, who's 13 years younger than me.
Yeah, but you're not a creep. You didn't constantly text her, "Hey, I'm famous."
Yeah, what a weird thing to. If I were famous, that was the last thing I would use. I know it's easy to say when you're not famous. I don't know how it shapes your brain, how it changes things, and how it changes how you approach daily life. Maybe you do start to expect that people should fall all over you just because you are famous, but it just feels like the most embarrassing thing. If a person's not interested in me, they know I'm famous. Also, Chris Hardwick, it's debatable. People know the name and probably recognize him, but
Well, he was then.
yeah, I mean, he's had his moments. I don't want to take that away,
Right.
but yes, the person knows that you're famous and they're still rejecting you. They've probably factored that in. They thought about it and they say, yeah, it's still not worth it. This guy's still creeping me out. And I know that you're not saying he or maybe he did write literally, I'm famous, but the implication of it's just very strange. It's like, leave it alone.
Yeah, she and I took an improv class at Dad's garage, and I remember one time he called and she was talking to him on the phone, and I just thought it was bizarre. Because you know what he wanted, because that's the kind of guy he is. He's a stand-up comic, and he'll go, I don't know if he's like this now, but you go into a different market all the time, and then you have, well, I got to make sure that, I have 3 or 4 out on the string in case I get, because I want to get laid.
He was the host of Singled Out, right?
Singled Out, and then he did At Midnight, and he got I think because there were issues, like Me Too type issues. I don't know for a fact. He's not the host of it anymore. Someone else is doing it, and he has a podcast. I think the Nerdist people fired him. I don't really know. I don't pay attention to
Everyone
him.
has a
He was
fuck.
funny, but
Everyone
huh?
has a everyone has a fucking podcast.
Well, Nerdist was a popular one for a while. It was sort of in the vein of What the Fuck or WTF with Mark Maron, which I can't listen to because he does these 20-minute rants before he has his guests come in. And I've always found him to be really, really annoying. I don't know why. He's just always rubbed me the wrong way.
I listened to some of the interviews when he had guests on years and years ago. I would skip the rant part. I don't know what his rants are about. Is it just about daily life things that he notices? And
Yes. The cats, the cats. You know, he's a complainer, that guy, which I
yeah,
am too, but
yeah.
I don't.
I was gonna say, what about us? We tend to
Yes.
complaining can be funny. I realize it can also be grating and annoying, and you have to find the balance. And if you, because a lot of the times it's really easy to complain, but it's hard to make it funny or at least intriguing and interesting enough to carry someone through, 20 minutes of it.
Right.
And maybe doing the show alone, like if I'm doing the show with Autumn, I think it offsets my complaining. There's a good balance there. If I'm doing the show alone, that does live in my mind somewhere. It's like if the easiest thing for me to do is to come on here and complain.
Right.
But I also realize that people aren't going to really want to listen to a lot of that. It's part of the reason when I do the show alone, I keep it shorter too. We tend to record for an hour, but I'll do like 20 minutes to 30 minutes alone. And like anything else, it is a skill to hone. But I feel like a lot of people just go on and think that what they have to say is interesting. And that's always a battle I have. I'm not saying that I don't have interesting thoughts and things to share, but also there's a side of me that thinks, who the fuck do you think you are to even think that in the first place? Do you really think you have anything interesting to say? You should just sit back and say nothing, idiot.
But
So there's that.
you don't get the opportunity on the von Hessler doctrine to share your opinions.
No, and I always feel like the moment I do have to start sharing an opinion, I rush it and then I don't present it the way I wanted to present it because there's just this timer in my head. It's like tick, tick, tick. How long until Eric jumps in?
Yeah.
There's
Well, I
a.
don't. Go ahead. I keep stepping on you.
I was gonna say I don't know if it's a lack of trust, but I do think there's a bit of fear that Eric holds. It's like if I let these people go on their own path, where are they going to take this?
Right.
So
I don't usually share mine on the show because of that very same reason. And then with Eric, he'll tend to defer to. He'll say, "Oh, George knows this," and 99% of the things that George Clark might know about in that realm of conspiracies or whatever, I know about as well. So if I bring them up, I'll just turn to George and go, "Right, George," and that sort of helps it move along.
how did that shift? Did you not want to be the conspiracy person?
The conspiracy news desk.
Well, yeah, like you said, all those conspiracies. I always feel like I'm not saying you believe them, but you're plugged into them. You know them,
All right.
and
Well, here's the honest answer to that. When Eric is out and we do it with George, we actually get to the stories and get to talk about it. When I do it, it's one, maybe two stories that, and then then it's done. Same with Paul Stanley or anything else. But that's just the way it is. I don't get mad about it, but I like to hear about those things and talk about them. And I do think that there's a percentage of the audience that knows about these things or hears about these things. And I like George presenting them. And now that it's been a while, George has a lot more confidence than he did at first.
no, I think George is great. I like when George is on the air.
Me too.
Every time I join before I go on the air and I'm talking to him behind the scenes off the air, I stir the pot a bit. It's like, you on today? You talking a lot today? Why aren't you talking a lot today? Is Jared keeping you from talking today? I
Yep.
think you should talk more.
Although sometimes when I don't look like Eric will look at him and look at Jared and look at me and he's bouncing back and forth looking at everybody. I don't look at anyone when I'm hosting. So when he jumps in, it surprises me. And at first I got annoyed, but I don't say anything. I just keep it to myself because again, I don't go complaining about shit anymore. But I think the last time or two or three times ago, I said, "Hey, just give me a heads up if you want to talk." And so I started looking at him more. I mean, I don't care because what he's offering is good. It's just jarring if you're not looking.
Yeah, you hate it, the eye contact, the intimacy that comes along with it. It's off-putting and disgusting, I know.
I don't like looking at people. I
I
don't want to
don't
look.
I
I
don't
had to
either.
force myself because I do all these interviews for the weekend show, the podcast show, that I have to look at people, and it's taken me again, I started it 2 or 3 years ago, and, uh, and now I have that comfort level, even though inside I'm like, "I don't wanna look at you," but I'm still doing it.
When I'm speaking, I don't like to look at anyone. And for whatever reason, it helps me focus on what I'm saying better. I realize this even on work calls, video calls. I look off screen and just into the distance, and it just helps me center my thoughts and organize what I want to say. But when people are speaking themselves, I tend to look at them. But I feel as though they also look away. So there's not too much direct eye contact, which is
Or
good because,
I have
again,
so much ADD that sometimes during our radio show, I take my glasses off because if I have any screens in front of me, I look at them.
just
I do, I have to take my and then Eric will say, "Why'd you take your glasses off? You look weird without your glasses." I said, "Because if I don't take them off, I'm going to be looking at my phone and the computer in front of me or just something. Because sometimes I get lost in the sauce if there's a conversation that I'm not involved with or I think it's something that I don't care about.
that's
You
when you
still have
start
to
to,
pay attention. Hmm?
yeah, that's when you start, when a conversation you're not involved in, that's when you start to boil a bit. The anger starts to brew inside, bubble
Used
up.
to. I mean, it's st I mean, I still have that first that initial thought of, "Oh, this is dumb," but I have the ability now to not do that. I used to be visible, like, you could see on my face that I was seething. This was on the regular guy show. One time Eric said something, and I go, "I'm bored." And he and Larry got mad at me, and Steve just laughed. Uh, Nowadays, I did that once here too, and he wrote me this long I did that this is years ago, like, even before way before the pandemic. He was saying something. I said, "Well, I'm kinda bored." And he wrote me this long text, like, in the evening, I was at home reading. He goes, "If you don't wanna be part of this or part of the podcast, then, you can just come in, do the show, do your thing." And it was really long, and Eric, he wrote it, and then I just wrote back, "Nah, I like it. This is stupid, and, I apologize for being disruptive, and we'll just move on." And he wrote back, "Okay, great."
Hey, that's
And
a good
that was
response.
yeah, but that was the last time. I think it was 20 it must have been 2018 or 2017. And ever since then has been any problem. Like the last year in the fall, he said something. He goes, he started spatting. We started having a little bit of a spat on air, and I just said, "Nah, I don't want to do this." And he just laughed.
I feel in those moments whenever I act up, and again, I don't know the last time I did. When I'm waiting to go on the show and Eric goes off on a tangent, and I know that it's presented on the show that I'm getting angry, it's because I really am getting angry. I am
Are
better
you
about
really?
that. Well, these days, I think it's kind of like you. It shifted a bit, but at first, it's like, what? When I'm coming on,
Uh
just
huh.
introduce me, and then if you want to do the tangent, do the tangent. There's something different to me, even if I'm not speaking in the moment, just about saying that I'm there and turning on the mic, and then if I have something to say, otherwise, I'm just sitting there, and it did used to
Seething.
anger me. And I think there was one time that I walked away, like I kept the mic on, but I walked away and then I sat on the couch. That's what I did and kept my headphones on. So I heard when I was introduced and then I just started yelling from the couch. I was like, "Oh, you ready for me?" I don't know if you remember
Uh,
this or not, but
no.
that didn't go over too well. And these days I really don't get as angry because it doesn't matter in the end. Like nobody listening thinks anything of it in any sort of way. I think back to, I bring this up a lot. You probably hate it, but the Christmas recording in front of the live studio audience,
Oh
and
yeah.
how you weren't used for the first 30 minutes of the show. And I was off to the side. Like I was standing near an easel. I forget exactly what my role in that show was, but I wasn't on the stage. So you came over and stood next to me, and you told me you were going to go home because you were so angry that you hadn't spoken yet. And I understand, like in that moment, I understood what you were feeling, but
Yep.
also I was thinking that there's still several hours of the show and there's going to be plenty for you to do. You will get involved. And I don't want to speak for you, but if I were in your position, I probably would have felt the same way because there's this idea, this feeling that we're in front of an audience and I'm not even given the opportunity to do anything. And realistically, I know nobody in the audience is looking at me and saying, "Oh, you poor pathetic loser, you don't even get a chance to speak." Nobody fucking thinks that. But somewhere in the unreasonable or rational part of my brain, that feeling exists that people are just judging me because I haven't spoken yet. And like, what a fucking loser.
Well, the thing is that you're sitting there and you're in front of an audience and you wanna do a show and you wanna be funny, and here I am, I'm doing this. I don't like doing the live shows anyway. I don't think he did either, but we did them, and, uh, and you're right that the whole time but it just kept I let it snowball.
Mhm.
And I don't know how I got myself out of it, but I don't even remember how I just made that pivot to, well, okay, now if we do something like that and I'm not involved or whatever, it's weird for me because I've been doing this so long and I realize there's no value to myself in getting upset. I just sort of just say, "Okay, this is cool. I'll get in when I get in."
I guarantee the moment you had something to do on the show, it all went away because that's what tends to happen.
Yeah.
It just builds and builds. And then the moment you're brought back into the mix, at least for me, there may be a bit of reluctance and I'm a bit closed off. So it takes me a few seconds to warm back up. There's a child that says, you want me to speak now? No, I don't want to. But because
Yeah.
you're on the spot in the moment, you can't do that. And I moved through it pretty quickly. And then 5 minutes later, you look back on it and I thought about all the things I wanted to say and all the ways I wanted to act. And I'm glad that I didn't do that because it was stupid. Same thing happens at work. Sometimes, there's something that I need and a person comes in and gives this irrational reason it can't be done. And I just type up this response to them where I just want to berate them. And then I don't send it and I go away for 5 minutes and I delete it. And I say, I'm glad that I didn't send that because it doesn't fucking matter.
I think for me, ever since I got out of college and started working at different places. Now it's way different when you're working at a bar and everybody's just getting drunk and eating and you're working at a restaurant or whatever. But when I moved away from my hometown, I tried to go to grad school. And while I was going to grad school, I worked overnight at a convenience store in this town. And so all the college kids would come in at 2 o'clock in the morning and trash the place. And I would just get so pissed and hate all of them. Um, but my point is this, even going all the way back to my first job, which was McDonald's, my first real, paycheck job, you learn things. And if you pay attention, you'll learn how to, there was no way I was if you think I was bad in the last 10 years or so, when I was 18, and I had crooked teeth and still had acne and shit, I hated everybody, and I thought everybody was judging me, and I was miserable, but you learn things with every job you have. Even when I got out of radio because I was fired and I was working here basically for free, um, I was working at the pizza place or working at the barber shop, you just learn things, you learn how to adapt, everything builds on itself, and coming here from Rock 100.5 where I was on edge constantly and full of anxiety and hating everybody that I worked with, um, I just decided that when I get to WSB, I'm not gonna be like that. I'm not gonna talk to other people, no gossip or anything like that. And so far, that's pretty much been, the case except for, personal things between Eric and myself.
I hate that I have an ego because a lot of this is born out of that. And I feel like
Everyone has an ego.
yes, of course. It's a dumb thing to say. I realize that. I've tried to kill my ego. I want to get rid of it, but I can't. And I feel like there is, at least in the past too, similar to you, there was more of a battle between it where there would be huge swings between the ego coming out and me acting out in ways. And how dare you tell me what to do? Even like a basic request in some sort of job where the hierarchy of a manager bothered me to begin with, and then the person requests something of me. And the reaction in my brain would be, who the fuck do you think you are to ask me to do that? Or when I was editing a video and you get notes back, my God, I would do an edit, and in my mind, I made decisions on the edit, and the edit's good. Like this is perfect. This is exactly where it needs to be. And then you get these notes from these idiots who know nothing about editing. Like they're internal notes from a manager who does know. I do. The strange thing with authority for me is I don't just hate it for the sake of it. I find that most people in authority are idiots that I can't trust, but people in positions of power who I do respect, like I'm happy to talk to them and listen to them.
Yeah.
I bring up Leslie Fram often, but as a manager, as a program director, she was my favorite because she worked with me to make the stuff I did better instead of telling me not to do something or telling me why it wasn't good or why it was wrong. And anytime somebody approaches it that way, so going back to the editing thing, I would give this list of notes from, we're doing branded content. So the client, who they're idiots quite often, they
Mm-hmm.
their ideas, and their ideas aren't seen in there. So you destroy this thing to implement their notes. And I had to get to this point because I would become so enraged. It's just, you have to reframe it.
Right.
To reframe it, it's like, this doesn't matter. At the end of the day, this is going to go out. Not that many people are going to watch it. The people that do watch it aren't going to think anything of it other than maybe be annoyed by it because it's interrupting their YouTube video.
Right.
Let it fucking go. And then I would reflect on myself and think about that part of my ego that would come out and react that way. And I've never really been able to understand why or where it comes from. I guess there is this part of me that does think that I'm smarter and better than other people. And it doesn't make me proud to say that. But at the same time, there's the flip side of it. It's like, I have nothing to say and I have nothing to contribute. So whatever. It's just wild swings. And if I could just land in some middle ground, which I think is what I've worked to do, like, it's a better place to be. But the actions don't come out as much, but the thoughts do still pop up.
Yeah, they happen to me. Now, when it comes to the managers that we have here, I get along really well with Ken. I get along really well with CC. I don't think they have anything negative in mind. Like the last time I filled in we did the fill in when Eric was sick. The next day I went into Ken's. He goes, "Well, you were a little bit low key. You weren't projecting enough, or you were a little low energy." And I said, "Well." I would have argued that before, but I said, "Well, it's just because we haven't been in there. We haven't been getting our reps." And, so I was like, "Oh, Jesus. Okay, I get it. I know what you're saying." But
What was
that's
the
me.
actual, what was the feeling in the moment though when he brought it up? Was there a defensiveness?
Immediately, the fucking door slammed down. It's like, the defensive door. Come on, yeah. But I lifted it back up and listened to him because he doesn't steer me wrong. He gives me solid advice, and he was right. So,
Yeah, even when people are right, it is hard to take. And the energy thing, if I am putting in the effort, being mindful of my energy level, it feels like I'm going over the top. If I
yes,
And then you listen back, you're like, oh wow, there's not much energy there still, even like that.
right.
But by nature, I don't know, the way I speak is the way I speak. And there is something to be said for sure. Nobody wants to listen to a monotone person ramble on. So interjecting energy is an important thing. It just feels fake to me at that point. It's like, this is me speaking like this isn't who I am, and it does feel exaggerated, but it's not.
Yes. And another thing you can't do is turn on a microphone on a show that isn't yours and start doing your own show. So it has to resemble the show and when we all fill in when Eric's out, the goal is to keep it as close to the Von Hessler doctrine as possible, which uh why a lot of times letting other people talk more so I can react to them and be funny is the best way to go about it, but also having to remember that you're doing the ins and the outs and you're doing the announcements and doing all that stuff that you have to do as a radio host. Filling in for Shelley Winter is a different thing because that's his show. He takes calls. And so, you have to have a lot of energy and you have to have topics to talk about because that's how his audience is. They're used to that. They're used to being fed a topic and then reacting to it. It's
I
a
do
completely
always,
different thing.
I do always push you. I feel when you're filling in when Eric's out, because I really like the idea of doing a show that you want to do, and I agree with you that it needs to stay close to what the show actually is. But there's also looming in my mind, and I know Eric just re-signed a contract, but Eric being older than everyone, there's going to be time he retires, and what happens to everyone else. So, and when I'm thinking about it, it's do a show that you want to do at this point and put it out there so people can hear it and get used to it, and you can practice and hone it. And by the time Eric retires, then it won't be this thing that comes out of left field, and people will be ready for it. And there's also just the part of me that likes to, in the moment, it's like, hey, who gives a shit? Just do the thing that you want to do. So there's an impulsive part to it also.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
but I always text you. I'm like, come on. I guess it's
Oh,
kind
I
of the
know.
same thing I do with George before the show. It's like, come on, Tim, come on, just do it.
Yeah, just do your thing. Do your thing, buddy.
I think it'd be fun. It would go over well. But you're right. The audience is there and they expect something. But See, I also feel like you're trusted enough. You're a trusted enough part of the show where if you did take it in a different direction, people aren't listening thinking, who the fuck is he? They know who you are. So I do feel like you could get away with it. Going to Shelley's show, again, people know who you are if they listen to the station, probably. But I think more there you do need to match his format. But because the Von Hessler doctrine is improvised anyway, it seems to lend itself to you going in and doing what you want.
The last time I hosted his show by myself without Jared was a very big boost to my ego because people were calling up that I never heard from before. Like, yeah, we love you. We love you filling in for Shelley. We love your Shelley impression, and we love the Von Hessler doctrine too. Uh, and somebody asked me to do an impression of a character that I did on the regular guy show. I said, well, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that voice anymore, obvious reasons. And the guy was a black guy, and he goes, yeah, but that was funny. Why don't you do that voice? I said, well, I can't. He goes, well, I don't, doesn't bother me. I go, yeah, but you're not a liberal white woman.
Who's listening to
Yeah.
the station just waiting for you to do that voice.
Yep. Or things we used to do like Indians in space. It's sort of weird. I was watching a Mr. Show clip because of who I interviewed, and they were doing this thing where David Cross was pretending to be like a Hitler, like a Nazi, and they were dividing up America amongst the races, and everybody was playing a different race, and Bob Odenkirk had makeup on his skin to make him look Indian, and he was doing an Indian accent. So I was like, oh my God, that's only 30 years ago, which is a long time. But, we've been a weird culture. Like ever since the 90s, it doesn't seem like anything has really changed as far as, dressing, as far as you watch a movie from 2000 and everybody looks the same as they look now. The clothes haven't changed that much. Or you watch The Office. The only thing that really seems to change is the technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching a video about this the other day, and it sort of blew my mind. Yeah, everybody's the same. We just have nicer phones.
Did the video go into the reasons why? Because this was a discussion I was having just recently.
I didn't get that far in the video.
Because all the decades, 50s had a very distinct style, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. You could say in the 2000s, and it wasn't widespread and mainstream, but it was big enough, like hipster clothing was
Yeah.
a thing. If you saw somebody dress like that, you would think, 2005. But that
Yes.
wasn't everyone in general. Outside of that, since around 2000, it feels like clothes have just kind of stopped becoming, they're at least a dominant fashion hasn't presented itself. And the internet probably has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Social media, especially.
People, having the niche groups, and sure, there's always people who have their own style and that pops up, but there hasn't been a widespread style. And I just find it to be interesting. And I'm sure that there are people who've dissected the reasons why. I've never really looked into it though. And all it would take is a search. I could get an answer.
Even the porn stars are all the same.
I wonder why that is. What is
I
going
don't know.
on?
OnlyFans, I guess.
The porn stars are so many these days.
There's no such thing as a porn star anymore.
Yeah. Who is. It's broken up the same way. There are people who are popular, but there's not like the mainstream, everybody knows that name.
Right.
Porn star.
Like everybody knew Jenna Jameson. Probably the last big name, I think, would be Jenna Jameson. And, Stormy Daniels, people only know her because of the Trump thing. So I can't think of anybody over the last 25 years that has name recognition. We had them all on the regular guys, that last bastion of female porn stars who were famous because they were in movies that were made. And then it all became clips. And then all those clips became, well, now I'm on social media and I'm controlling it all myself. And you can give me the money directly. And there's not some scumbag getting all my money.
And then you can go to the tube site that one person pays for my content and they rip it and they post it here so you can get it for free.
Right.
I don't know how. Well, OnlyFans, I do know how the money is made because you've always got the guys who think that they're talking directly to the person whose page it is. They're not.
Yeah, it's either a bot or some loser typing responses.
Which is a real job.
Yeah.
It may
I wouldn't call
switch.
him a loser. I would do that if I got paid well.
You could probably do it. There are job listings for it. Will it switch fully to AI at some point? I bet so. But I don't know. There's guys. I was going to say you can tell, but there's guys who respond to obvious AI postings of women. It's like that's not a real person. That's AI, and they're writing in the comments, "Sexy." Also, you're putting yourself out there publicly, your Instagram, and then you click on their profile and you see after they say something raunchy to an AI woman, and they've got pictures of them standing with their family. It's like, what the? Do you not
Right.
realize the way this works? Do you have no clue?
A lot of them don't, and then they get found out, and it's they get embarrassed.
As they should.
I think
Like,
my dad falls used to, he doesn't do this anymore, but he used to fall for these, these Facebook, like some lady from China is following you or some lady from they're all fake. They're all fake, all fake, all fake. And
mhm.
he will follow them or whatever, and the direct messages happen. And it was so funny because my stepmother found him, and I'm not trashing him or anything like that. I'm just saying this is a slice of life thing that happened to him, and older guys way older than us, who are on these social media platforms being tempted by bots. And I said to my wife, I said, "Well, he needs to learn." I said, "His problem is he doesn't know how to hide it." My wife said, "That's your takeaway?" And I said, "Well, yeah, really. I mean, guys are going to be guys, but don't be disrespectful to your partner."
Yeah, do it in secret where she doesn't know, or
Right.
he.
Or he or they or whatever. But I'm so I'm much more disconnected from that world than I was when I was, single and living by myself.
There's so much of it. Similar to the podcast thing where I gave you that breakdown, like, oh, you have 1,500 listeners, you're already in the top 10%. The number of OnlyFans, like most people don't have that many followers. Sure, if you can get it going, I don't even know how you do that as a woman because there's plenty of pretty women that a guy would like to see naked that exist out there. But like, how do you get yourself discovered and into the main like artery of people's algorithms? I don't know. I don't know the way it works, but the percentage of people who are actually making a lot of money on OnlyFans is still pretty low, and
It
the
says
people who do
here,
make money make a lot though.
OnlyFans has over 305 million registered fan accounts. Um, how many creators? I'm going to say creators. How many creators are there? 4.2 million creators on OnlyFans as of November 2023.
It's so
Now,
many.
those people are not getting all the money.
No,
And there's a couple accounts where the women don't even get nude, where they make a ton of money, like Bad Baby, that chick from The Sopranos, who's too old to be on OnlyFans.
that is an interesting one too. They don't get naked, but they still get that loyal. Does it present something to the guys who follow? They think they're better because they can appreciate that she's not getting naked, and then the people who need a person to get naked are somehow less than. There's I psychology of this type of stuff always intrigues me, and I always mean to look into it more. I don't know if there's been studies done on this one, but the non-nude OnlyFans, it makes sense that there'd be a following, and it's kind of nice that it doesn't require a person taking off their clothes. But I think back to cam sites,
Ugh,
and there'd be guys in the room who, because they tip a lot of money and they've been a fan for 2 years, they then become the protector of the woman, the gatekeeper. And if other
the
guys come
simps.
in,
The simps.
yeah, is that
That's
where
what
it
they
was?
are.
Is that where? Yes, is that where that was born?
I don't know. It's there. I don't know where it comes from. I
But
was just gonna
yes,
add this right here. Drea De Matteo, who played Adriana on The Sopranos, her 13-year-old son, he must be 15 by now, but her son edits her content for OnlyFans, which means she's not doing nudes because that would be disgusting, and she probably wouldn't allow that. Um,
it's still weird.
but you're right about the cam sites, because I was looking at those when I don't look at them now, but I used to have an account on a couple different places, accounts at different places, and the people, hey man, back off. Let her do her thing, man. Okay, yeah. All right, I'll do that. I'll
There
do
were
that. And then you just go, why am I here? Why am I looking at this person I'm never gonna meet? What is this all about? This is dumb. The post self-coital regret. Wow, I just spent money on this. I'm glad I don't do that anymore.
I've never really spent money. I think I mentioned in the past there was a little bit of money spent whenever they would offer the 1 week for $3. And then,
Oh, you
uh,
download everything and then put it on a hard drive and never look at it again.
yeah, And it's like, I got to get it all. And then it's like,
Yeah.
that exists somewhere. I have no clue where.
Yeah, I don't
I
have
think
mine
of
anymore.
dying and somebody coming across a hard drive. It's like, yeah, let's look at what's on here. The only saving grace is that over time, the technology changes and that hard drive can no longer be accessed.
Well, it was for me, it was obsessive compulsive behavior, I believe, that where I would just, well, I'm gonna be on this blog and I'm gonna or whatever, this forum, and I'm gonna download all these RAR files, RAR files, and then I'm gonna get WinRAR and I'm gonna put them all together, and then I'm gonna have these 800 different clips and videos and 1,000 pictures that I'm never gonna look at again. So why did I do this? I could have been doing a million different things. I could have been working on a demo or writing or whatever. No, no, no. I got to do this all day. And it just became OCD type behavior.
Going to build a searchable database,
Yeah.
metadata tags.
Yeah. But I have no time. No time to do that now. Sorry, Gilbert. I know you're hungry, but daddy's doing something that's worthless. So, it was hard to break those habits of just obsessively looking at the internet all day
It
and
is.
getting home from work and what did I do? Turn on the computer. This is what I'm gonna look at. I'm gonna do this for hours. You look up, it's dark. Oh God. Well, I might as well continue.
It's bad. It's bad. To round out the porn thing, I also felt like with the free trial, it was like sticking it to the big company. It's like, you idiots, you give me the opportunity to do that, I'll show you. Or
They don't
some
care because for every one of you doing that, they have 30 people who forget that they signed up and
Exactly.
they get billed for a year,
Exactly. So
worse than a gym membership.
yeah, once you're in that year, you can cancel it, but it's like, hey, you already paid for the year, so enjoy your access for the next year. Chump.
Yeah, or they just forget that they sign up monthly and they just forget and they don't look at their account statements. And that not me because I'd sign up for something and then immediately cancel it after I was done doing what I needed, which was to get every video I could of this specific person.
Well, even other things like YouTube premium subscription. They offered me a free month. I'm like, all right, sure. Then I cancel it immediately because they still give you the free month. So I cancel it as soon as I sign up for it.
That's one thing that I actually enjoy paying for so I don't have to watch their stupid ads.
I'm sure that's a stubborn thing with me. It is because the ads have gotten much worse. It
Uh-huh.
used to be, all right, it's going to pop up at the beginning, and that's fine. Even if I can't skip it, I'll watch it. But now it just interrupts, and they're not placed strategically by any means. So it's just constant. If you watch a video that's 15 minutes long, you're probably going to be interrupted 4 or 5 times with ads.
No
So
thanks.
it may be worth it. Also, the Gemini, which is the Google chat bot, I they offer. I don't even know what the paid subscription does, but I got this PDF script and I need to design sound for it, and there wasn't a cue sheet attached to it, so I didn't want to read like the 100 something pages myself, and so I was trying to get it to read it for me and tell me where that needed sound effects, and it was having trouble doing it, and said it eventually led me to the paid thing, which I thought it had more power. That thing's like $30 a month, and that was a free
Mm,
trial that I also canceled. I'm not going to pay $30 a month for it, but that seemed
no.
pretty high to me to charge
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that.
What is ChatGPT's more power? What do you get with the more powerful chatbot?
I don't know, and I don't even use ChatGPT anymore. I just use Grok.
Oh, you're a Grok guy. That's right.
But it works. It's easy.
Is that free?
Mhm. For now.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I can't let
We gotta
people know
wrap I
though.
gotta wrap up shortly, but speaking of Grok, it's funny, the last time Joe Rogan had Elon on his show, all Elon did was talk about Grok, and you could visibly watch Rogan get pissed, but afraid to say anything because now Elon is powerful and he wasn't before.
Yeah. Elon's still such a goof, though. Looking at the Tesla thing the other day on the White House lawn,
Yeah.
and the way he's bobbing his head up and down, a real goofball.
He is a goofball. I don't know how long it's gonna last. That's perhaps another topic. I don't know how long it's gonna last with him being around Trump, because Trump will eventually get tired of the antics.
I'm surprised it hasn't
Unless
happened yet.
well, he's there. If Elon can be a lightning rod for all the hate, and Trump can just continue doing what he's doing, and he needs Elon for the midterms to fund these people in markets,
Mhm.
to fund members of Congress who are running and shit like that. So
Well, we can, yeah, we'll discuss that next time. Hopefully
Maybe you
Autumn
can
will.
do a subtopic of one topic when Autumn's back.
I mean, we can also just record. I'll do 2 shows in 1 week behind Autumn's back. I'll release a show with you. See how she reacts.
We should have talked about these tornadoes we're supposed to get this weekend, because I'm just going to be fucking pissed about it or I'm going to be anxious about it for the next 2.5 days.
Well, that's you. I don't have tornadoes up here.
I know you don't.
I hope they don't hit you. We'll check in. I'll check in with you. I'll keep texting you because you have to go at this point. So
Yes, I have guests, but this has been fun. Anytime you need a fill-in, I would love to do it.
yeah, I'm gonna bug you.
Even though we did more than one topic.
Yeah, but I think there was a theme there. We kind of got off at the end when we got into the porn thing. But for the most part, it was like the philosophy of radio and ego or some shit. I'll find a way to present.
You'll find a way.
But all right. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.